I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
My favorite topic to talk about on YouTube is self-improvement. And it sounds so cheesy to even say it. What does that term even mean? Self-improvement. Learning to live better. Having a better life, learning to live in your spirit. All of that seems to kind of taint the experience with all of the new age self-help guru type books. And there are plenty of people who are going to sit there with inspiring bullshit background music behind them, which I will not burden you with. Even though I know by putting background music in there, it would be more inspirational and people would feel more emotion. But I feel like if my words that I'm saying can't convey the message I want to convey, no amount of editing and standing in breezy robes by a beach and a sunset and putting in inspirational piano music, it's just bullshit. And that's mainly what this video is about. I'd like to talk about how pretentious and shallow so much of the bullshit is out there. And I'm not saying that it's ever going to change or that it hasn't always been that way. There have always been shallow, ignorant people out there. And it's not always their fault, and I'm not dismissing people who are shallow or ignorant as being bad people. I'm saying that all of us are working toward understanding how to live in this life. In other words, by the time you start to figure it out, you're dead. And that's the world we live in. You're born, you move forward, you try to understand your environment. By the time you think you have it filled out, all of a sudden you find out it isn't what you thought it was. Oh no, I've been lied to by my government, by my parents, by my friends, by my family, by everybody I've ever known. Not on purpose, not for any menacing or nefarious purpose, but because people are stupid. And then you find out, oh, I'm stupid too. And that's okay. So I'd like to talk about a few things that have eased that burden and the reason why, mainly, that I call out bullshit when I see it. Whereas I have this side of me that is accepting, tolerant, understanding of each unique perspective. But at the same time, there's a side of me that says I am not going to accept things that I know are utter bullshit. And so that's why I speak out about fake-ass gurus or bad products, things like that. Some people would say, well, everybody has their own life to live. Why don't you just let people live the way they want to? Say, they can, as long as they're not trying to sell my fellow man some bullshit cure for cancer or claiming that their, special product is going to heal every disease you have or, fix you. You can fix yourself. You can improve your health. You can improve your mental state. But there's no product or BS device that you can buy that's going to do that for you. And I've discovered that after years of wishing that there was. Maybe there's some underlying understanding that we're not aware of. But anyhow, one of the things about this is it's not a debate. You must defend yourself against bullshit when you see it. And what I found is that when I hear something that I don't believe to be true, I cannot stop myself from calling it out. It doesn't matter if it's a comment section or a close loved one. If somebody says something that I don't believe is true, then my next response is going to be, prove it. Let's look at the evidence. And that brings us into today's world where people can easily say, oh, well, everybody's just lying and nobody believes anything anyway. Let's not get into the details. Let's just believe what we want to believe. And that's actually become the norm for a lot of people. They want to believe what they want to believe. And that's fine. You just got to accept that I'm going to say bullshit because that's the way it is. So, I think it's important that we discount lies, but also that we discount things that we don't consider lies, but maybe misinformation. And that's what I try to do. And I'm willing to stick my neck out and get it chopped off by some people for that, because I refuse to listen to drivel and nonsense. So, an example would be, for example, I left a comment earlier on a video about heavy metal. It was a 1985 or 86 interview with a 18-year-old kid from a rock band or a heavy metal band. He had the jean jacket on, the buttons and patches, the, wavy mullet, girly hair. I guess that's what we would call it, the total twisted sister look, if you will. And I loved it because I grew up in the 80s. I had jean jackets, I had pins, I had a mullet, I wore big ass dangly earrings with skulls and crossbones and put patches. But you know what? I was a nice person. And so I knew that just because you listen to a certain type of heavy metal or music doesn't make you a certain way. And I left a comment saying, oh yeah, that was my generation, Gen X. Oh, I remember growing up with heavy metal, and it took me a while to understand that there was a deeper message in a lot of it, and people from the outside didn't understand it. And then somebody left a comment below it that said, oh, a response to my comment that said that actually all heavy metal lyrics had double meaning, and that actually it was witches' language. And so I totally called the dude out. Like, complete bullshit. I was like, this is utter nonsense. I was like, that's generalization, basically. And I see that's the same kind of shit I do with religion because of this kind of satanic crap, because he put Satan in there somewhere. Then another person left a comment saying that all heavy metal was racist, and that in the 80s it was all about racism. And I started thinking back to the black metal bands as they joined in. You know, there weren't a lot of black metal heads, but the ones that were welcomed with open arms, and they did a lot of collaborations with heavy metal bands. The point was, I called the dude out too. I was like, you're full of shit. I was like, what are you talking about? Complete nonsense. Name the lyrics. Prove your point. You know, I just can't understand the mentality of people. Maybe they're misinformed. Maybe they don't understand. He claimed he went to CBGBs in the 80s and he grew up around it. I'm saying there are racist elements in every culture. I mean, you can't get away from that. But to try to, you know. So anyhow, that goes in line with the next issue that I came across, which was this is on the completely opposite end of the spectrum. I came across this random video from this dude who is like, I don't recall the name, and I wouldn't say the name of his channel if I did know it. He has about 12,000 subscribers, maybe something like that. And he has this video he does about long hair and power, and how your long hair actually gives you power. And that the longer your hair is, the more you can receive these signals, and supposedly it got into some pretty like ridiculous stuff that I could not begin to try to define, as far as explaining it, all the details of what he was coming up with. I'd say the guy is probably in his 20s, and he's a younger wannabe guru kind of guy, I guess. I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know where he was getting his information. But he was claiming that the longer your hair is, the more in touch you are with your spirit, because it receives signals, and that it's not actually, that it's an extension of your nervous system, yada, yada. And so I left this really, really long comment saying, dude, I'm sorry. And it was respectful, but it was like, dude, this is bullshit. You can't just make up things about how the longer your hair is, the more spiritual you are. And my response, because he was black, so what I said was, imagine a bald guy, how that must make him feel. He can't grow hair, right? Or somebody with a hair problem, hair issue. Because I've heard the same shit about how if you have to have all your natural teeth to be spiritual. And I was like, well, what about people who lost their teeth or had tooth problems? You know, what, they can never be at your level? But anyhow, I said, if you're going to say that about people's hair, imagine a bald guy. Now imagine how you would feel if somebody said you have to have a certain color of skin in order to be spiritual. Now that's some bullshit right there. But hopefully he responded with, thanks for your input, bro, and he like hearted the comment. And I thought, here I left this long ass comment calling you out, and all you can say is thanks for your input, bro. Like, this is the kind of stuff that makes me more inspired to keep speaking up when I see things that are wrong. And I hate to bring up those stupid points. It seems very trivial, but it's not. These are the things we run across in our daily interactions on YouTube and elsewhere, where we see a comment or we see a video which just has some bullshit thing, and we have to dispel that myth. And often people want to step back. They don't want to say anything because they don't want to be offensive. They don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Let me tell you this. You're going to have to hurt some feelings if you want to be real in this world. I found that out the hard way. You know, you're never going to have everybody in agreement with you. And if you want to be an agreeable person, then you're going to be a miserable person. You have to stand up for what you believe. You have to have a little bit of self-appreciation to say, I believe this is bullshit, and I'm going to say as much. So it's not just about calling out what's a blatant lie. It's also about calling out what is dumb. And you do it with respect. You never do it to insult someone or be harsh. That's the important factor I want to leave. We can have discussions. Now, often the other person will respond with some sort of harsh bullshit, but you don't have to retort with that. But I definitely call out what's dumb. And what I mean by that is a lot of memes or, these trends and fads through the internet, that I can just say, look, I'm not just an old guy who's saying, oh, kids these days. I'm saying this is truly stupid. Even when I was a kid, I knew what was stupid and what was dumb and what was just put out to get attention, to get likes, or to, get people to go, oh, basically a lot of the internet can be summed up with the class clown who always had to make a fart noise in class or do something stupid to get attention so everybody would giggle. And then, oh, ha, 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 yeah, you get attention, you get to get looked at. You're not putting out any substance into the world. You're not helping anyone or doing anything to improve your environment. You're just doing something stupid. But I guess making people laugh is an important thing. But hopefully that leads into being a comedian, is my point. Because comedians we're losing all of our comedians because of the PC culture thing. And it's getting preposterous to some point where people can't even make joking, jokes about racial differences or differences between sex because we've become so sensitive about everything. Everybody is virtue signaling. And a few years back, if you'd asked me, I'd say I support PC culture. I support, changing the way that we do things. I've completely changed my stance after watching how extreme some people are at trying to force others to live a certain way. Like virtue signaling is the perfect example. Look at groups like PETA. I would never give a dime to that shitbag group. PETA has executed 98% of their animals that they take into their custody. I don't even have to get into a debate about it. Regardless of what you think of the ethical treatment of animals, which I agree with, it was the president of PETA who said, no humans should own pets, and they're better off being euthanized than living in misery with humans as their masters, basically, in a nutshell. She would rather kill animals than have them living with humans. It's that simple. You don't need to know anything more. The president of an organization. But people will get into these debates about what's right and what's wrong. Oh, but they've done this and they've done that. Look, we all want to help animals. We all want to see animals be protected and taken care of and respected. But executed? And so, but my point in that is they're virtue signaling constantly. That they're this great ethical, this ethical group that goes out and saves animals. Complete bullshit. Complete bullshit. So they've even stolen people's pets off their porch and put them to sleep within 24 hours. Totally healthy dogs and cats. Off of their porches. This is documented. You can look it up. And I bring that up because it's everybody who does stupid shit needs to be called out. Every single time you see somebody who's pulling some shit on somebody else, you have to call them out. And so by doing that, you're being yourself. You're being honest. And people will come back with hate. As long as you know what's right, fuck them. Just totally fuck them. I mean, you're better off being you. You command respect, and it may feel awkward, but you have to command respect in this world. It's something that's taken me a long time to realize. I grew up just like everybody else was. I was an awkward teenager. I had acne. I was overly tall, had a mullet. I was trying to find my way. To this day, I felt just a little awkward, like insecure. And after discussing this with so many people, I've realized everybody feels that way. A lot of people just won't admit it. So being insecure is natural. But if you want to command respect, you have to deal with feeling awkward. You have to stand up for what you believe. It's not about being an alpha or a beta. Let me tell you this. The guys out there who get hung up on alpha and betas, they are all betas, if there is such a thing. Every single man out there who is obsessed with being better than other men is somebody who is so deeply, deeply insecure within themselves that they have to express it through trying to tell everyone how alpha they are. You can't deny it. It's the big truck syndrome. Big truck, little dick. I hate to say it, but there is so much of this that this stereotype has continued to ring true. I'm one of the tall, awkward guys that drives a small car. You know, like, there's always something to be said about the dude who hops out of a big-ass truck and he's like 5 foot tall, right? And I'm using that as a metaphor for so many people who talk big and make up bullshit and act tougher than they are. That's not commanding respect. That's getting people to tolerate your bullshit. One day you're going to get old and you're going to have nothing to fall back on. You're still going to be that short guy, but you're just going to be old. I don't know what else to say about it. I'm just saying we all have our insecurities. Don't take that wrong as picking on short people, because I'm an awkward tall dude. I have a bad posture. I've got my own problems. It's not about being alpha or beta. The question here to finalize this is, what does it mean to be a guru today in the Western society? Not just a guru by definition of some great spiritual leader. It's one who speaks the truth. I consider it almost like a new religion. Being honest and speaking the real truth. Not the truth you want to be true. Not the truth that your followers believe to be true. But the truth you fucking know and that you've seen and you've researched and you've felt in your heart and say, damn it, this doesn't coincide with who I think I am, but I guess who I think I am isn't who I think I am. It's like the new religion is knowledge because nobody believes anything. And I've had this debate with so many people who just say, well, if I can't get to the bottom of something, I can just assume that everything's a lie. And that's a cop-out, and we all know it. There is information, there are facts, there is a life to live, and in order to do it, I think that in order for me to feel like I've done my part in this world, I have to call out all the bullshit that I see as I see it. So forgive me if I call out something that you believe in, but no remorse. I'm just going to say it. And when the evidence comes forward to prove me wrong, I'll change my opinion because I have nothing vested in what I believe or think. And I want to make that an important point here. If we want to really have good discussions and rational arguments and debates to get to the bottom of what it means to be alive for the purpose of leading better lives, the only way that we can really do it is to be honest with ourselves and to be able to change our opinions when somebody calls us out, which has happened to me 100 times on this channel, which is why I love doing it. So thanks for being there. Thanks for being you. Thanks for listening. Thanks to my subscribers, my patrons, my people. Leave a comment and all that shit and subscribe and peace. To Carpo's channel, yo. Yeah. Look at the knot holes on this tree where they removed the branches over time. Kind of cool. Have you ever seen these little spots on the sidewalk and thought they were gum? Sometimes you'll see them around the city, various locations. It looks like a spot where somebody deposited a lot of gum. Well, it's not. It's actually a type of lichen that grows on concrete. And the reason it looks so flat is because it's been tread on. If you come out to the edge here, you look out by this moss, you can see how it radiates out from the center as it grows. It's kind of interesting. For some reason, it favors certain types of sidewalks like this one, so I just thought I would share that information with you all, because I used to think it was gum too. Learn something new.